Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. There are women whose hearts speak in silence, whose souls stretch out quietly in the dark, hoping, aching, for someone to understand what they cannot yet say. She is not withholding because she's cold, nor avoiding because she's indifferent. She is, in truth, hoping you already feel what she's too fragile to name. You may not realize it, but when she looks at you and quickly looks away, it's not rejection, it's reverence. She's not ready to let her world collapse into yours unless she knows yours will hold her gently. She won't confess her feelings, not because the feelings aren't real, but because they're too real. They've shaken something ancient inside her, a part she had long buried, a part she swore she'd never expose again. To her, confession isn't just honesty, it's exposure, surrender, risk. Perhaps her past taught her that vulnerability is a dangerous luxury. Perhaps she was once brave in love and was met with cruelty disguised as charm. So now, she measures love by silence. She doesn't ask you to chase her, she asks you to notice her. In the pauses, in the stillness, in the unspoken offerings of her presence. And here's the paradox. She doesn't need grand gestures. She needs your patience. She needs the quiet strength of a man who can sit beside her and make her feel seen, even when her lips are sealed. Because a woman like this speaks in subtleties. She remembers the little things. She stands close, even when the room is wide. She listens to the tremble in your voice, notices the scars you try to hide, and stores them like sacred truths. She doesn't confess, but she hopes. Hopes you'll see the gravity in her small actions. Hopes you'll realize that her distance is not disinterest, but a quiet audition of your depth. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and a woman who has suffered yet dares to feel again is a woman whose soul has been stained with both shadow and fire. If she chooses to keep you close, even while guarding her heart, it means you matter. It means she's watching, quietly, how you hold space, how you listen, how you treat the parts of her that she hasn't revealed yet. She wants to know, can you love without forcing? Can you recognize her longing in the way she shares a song, a glance, or a moment of quiet? Can you stay steady while she tests whether you're a safe place for her storm? This is the emotional terrain we often miss, the in-between of love, where nothing is said, but everything is felt. And this is where the strongest connections are born, not through words, but through awareness, through deep seeing, through masculine steadiness that asks for nothing and accepts everything. So today, we are going to explore this emotional poetry. We are going to dive into the 7 secret truths about women who don't confess, but quietly hope you understand. You'll learn how to listen with your spirit, how to read the subtext of her actions, and how to honor the unspoken beauty of a woman who loves without saying so. Because she's not withholding love, she's protecting it. And if you prove worthy of that silent trust, you may one day see her drop the armor and speak everything her silence once held. Let's go start. Number 1. Her silence isn't emptiness, it's a test of your depth. The mistake most men make is assuming that a woman's silence means absence, that her lack of confession means lack of emotion. But in truth, her quietness is not a void, it is a vessel, a sacred container of feeling too profound for casual conversation, too delicate to be laid bare before certainty arrives. When a woman chooses not to confess, she is not betraying her heart, she is guarding it, the way a flame is protected in the wind. Her silence is an ancient language, one that only a man of stillness and soul can truly understand. It is not a punishment, nor a riddle to be solved. It is a test of presence, of patience, of perceptive love. She has likely been here before, with a heart wide open and hands trembling, only to be misunderstood, mishandled, or left. So now She watches. She observes how you move through the silence. Do you grow restless, needing validation? Do you demand clarity, unable to sit with uncertainty? Or do you stay steady like an oak tree in the storm, offering warmth without interrogation? Because the man who can sit in the quiet without forcing words is the man who understands that love, in its most sacred form, often begins in the space between sentences. A Stoic man, like Marcus Aurelius taught, does not react to the world. He responds with virtue, with clarity, with inner strength. And this woman, in all her quiet mystery, is asking you to embody that kind of love, one that listens more than it speaks, one that observes without judgment, one that doesn't chase noise, but feels the heartbeat within stillness. She doesn't want to be chased. She wants to be recognized, to be seen for the subtle shifts in her energy, to be heard when she says nothing. Because when she falls for someone, she doesn't use grand words. She uses sacred restraint. Look closer. Her eyes linger a little longer. Her goodbye is softer than before. Her text, though short, carries warmth. She remembers the book you mentioned weeks ago. She laughs at your most quiet jokes. These are not random acts. These are whispers of a heart unfolding, slowly, cautiously, like a rose that has bloomed too early before and paid the price. If you look only for confessions, you will miss these holy signs. And worse, she will feel unseen once more and retreat. Her silence is not a lack of love. It is the weight of it. She is not asking for a savior. She is testing for a sanctuary. She wants to know if your heart has the architecture to hold hers, if your masculinity is quiet enough to hear the wisdom in her softness, if you can meet her where she is, not with demands, but with dignity. And if you pass that test, she will not just love you, she will trust you. She will give you the parts of her soul no one else was patient enough to wait for. The immature man hears nothing in her silence and walks away. The average man feels threatened and demands clarity. But the wise man, the man who has walked through his own fires and has learned to kneel before the divine mystery of feminine emotion, he stays. He does not beg. He does not boast. He simply remains open, grounded, aware. And that stillness, that rare masculine composure, is what calls her forward. If you ever find a woman who chooses silence over spectacle, who speaks to you in presence rather than poetry, don't rush her. Just be there, for it is in those quiet moments that real love whispers its name, and if you can hear it, you'll realize she has been speaking to you all along. Number 2, her distance isn't rejection. It's a mirror of your effort. When she takes a step back, it's not always because she's losing interest. It might be because she's holding up a mirror. In that mirror, she wants to see who you truly are when she's no longer making it easy. Will you pursue with intention, or will you vanish like those who only loved convenience? Women, especially those with depth, often test not your love, but your endurance. They step away not to reject, but to reveal. What kind of man stands still when affection is no longer effortless? You see, the feminine heart is often quiet, but never careless. She may not confess her feelings, but every movement she makes is purposeful. When she pulls back, don't mistake it as the closing of her heart. She might simply be pausing, waiting to see if your love can flow in the absence of constant invitation. That's not a game. That's emotional self-protection wrapped in wisdom. She's been open before, too open, and she's been burned by those who celebrated her openness, only to disappear when the fire needed tending. So now she's cautious. If you feel her becoming distant, ask yourself, are you showing up with presence? Are you offering consistency, not just chemistry? Because she's not watching how you behave when things are passionate. She's observing what happens when the high fades, when reality walks in. The modern world has trained people to chase attention, not connection. But she's different. She's not impressed by likes or charming words. She's watching for the quiet proof. Do you text when there's nothing exciting to say? Do you remember small things she told you in passing? Do you listen even when she isn't speaking? Her distance is deliberate. She wants to know whether you'll close the gap with authenticity or collapse into silence, assuming she should chase. Because the man who expects her to do all the emotional labor is not the man she's praying to find. She longs for someone who doesn't just want her when she's radiant and inviting, but when she's uncertain, tired, guarded. That's when true love begins, in the trenches of doubt, not the mountaintops of certainty. The Stoics taught us that love without effort is a hollow desire. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." And that's what she's waiting to see, not explanations, not excuses, but embodiment. Be the calm in her storm, not the storm she regrets opening up to. Be the steady hand that doesn't flinch when she's unsure. Because love, real love, doesn't always look like passion. Sometimes it looks like showing up when she's not even asking you to. When she pulls away, lean in with respect, not pressure. Let her know, with your consistency, that you're not here for the chase, but for the closeness. Speak in actions, not only in promises. And most importantly, stay grounded. Do not mirror her distance with withdrawal. Mirror it with quiet strength, the kind that says, "I'm here, even when you're unsure." Remember, she won't always tell you she cares, but she will give you opportunities to show that you do. And if you meet her silence with soul, her distance with devotion, her hesitation with heart, she will unfold in a way no words ever could explain. Number 3, she uses silence to reveal what words cannot. There are women who write love letters in silence, not because they lack the words, but because they believe the soul speaks more truthfully in the quiet. She is one of those women. The kind who won't say, "I love you," in 100 ways, but will hold your hand when your world is breaking. The kind who won't chase you with texts and emojis, but will remember the exact way your voice trembles when you talk about your childhood. Her love is not loud, it's layered, and in those layers, her silence is not absence, it is art. She knows too well that words can lie, that anyone can say the right thing and still be the wrong person, so she waits, she watches. She studies not how you respond when she's affectionate, but how you behave when she's still, quiet, unyielding. Her silence is not a test in the petty sense, it's an unveiling. She wants to see what kind of man you are when there's no applause, no reward, no reassurance. Do you still show up when love isn't obvious? When she's not giving you a map to her heart, will you still find your way? Many men panic in the face of her silence. They label her cold, distant, complicated. But a wise man knows better. A man who has tasted real intimacy knows that sometimes the loudest cries come without a sound, and she hopes, in her quiet way, that you're that man, that you can sit with her silence without trying to fix it, that you understand her love language is not always verbal, but visceral. She'll cook your favorite meal without saying a word. She'll hold space for your anger without flinching. She'll notice when your energy dips and ask about your day, not because it's small talk, but because it's sacred to her. That's how she confesses, not in declarations, but in presence. And she hopes, perhaps even aches, for you to understand that. The truth is, she's been hurt by men who said too much and meant too little. Now she values restraint. Now she watches how you listen more than what you say. Because in her world, love isn't performance, it's perception. She wants to feel that you see her, not just her body, but her bravery. Her stillness is where she stores her scars, and if you're gentle enough, she'll slowly begin to trust you with the unspoken chapters. The Stoics taught that a wise man speaks little but says much. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This is especially true in love, because when she retreats into silence, she's inviting you to meet her in that sacred space where ego cannot follow, only soul can. She is not asking for grand gestures. She is asking, "Can you sit beside me without needing to fill the silence? Can you feel me even when I'm quiet?" If you answer that question not with words, but with warmth, she will begin to unfold. She will begin to believe that maybe, just maybe, you understand her in a way most never tried to. Number 4, she sends hints instead of confessions. Because vulnerability terrifies her, she won't come out and say it, not because she doesn't feel it, but because her heart has been broken in places you cannot see. She speaks in glances, in slightly longer hugs, in that moment where she almost says something, and then pulls it back with a nervous smile. You see, when a woman loves silently, she becomes a master of suggestion. Her affection is painted in subtleties, not because she wants to play games, but because she's afraid of handing over her soul to someone who won't treasure it. She has likely loved too deeply before, loved someone who took her softness for granted, who responded to her openness with distance, or worse, mockery. So now she protects her tenderness behind a shield of nonchalance. Her hints, a soft text late at night, an unexpected compliment, her remembering something small you said weeks ago. These are not trivial. They are quiet cries from a heart that doesn't know how to trust easily anymore. They are her way of asking, "Will you meet me halfway, or will you leave me stranded in my own hope?" This is where most men fail her. They either don't notice the hints or they don't take them seriously. But a man with emotional depth, a man with intuition and patience, sees them for what they are, sacred openings. She isn't being indirect to manipulate. She's being indirect because that's the only way she knows how to show interest without risking the ruin she's known before. A Stoic would understand this dance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Her hesitation is not a blockade, it is a bridge. If you meet her patience with your own, if you respond to her subtle offerings with warmth instead of demands, she will slowly inch closer, and each inch will mean more than any grand declaration. You see, women like her don't want a love that overwhelms. They want a love that understands. She wants to feel safe in her silence, not pressured to be performative. She wants to be chosen without having to scream. So when she sends you those little signs, when she asks about your favorite childhood memory, when she offers to help with something small, when she casually mentions that you crossed her mind, don't brush it off. That's her version of, "I miss you." That's her heart speaking in a language she hopes you are wise enough to translate. And when she sees that you do, when she notices that you're attuned to the unspoken, that you respond not with suspicion, but with sensitivity, that's when she begins to open, not all at once, not in a cinematic confession, but slowly, honestly, like a flower that finally feels the sun again after years of winter. To love a woman like this is to love gently. It's to accept the puzzle of her emotions, not as a test, but as an invitation. It's to be brave enough to read between the lines and humble enough to never make her feel foolish for hoping you would. Number 5, she gets jealous, but pretends not to care, because she's afraid to appear weak. Jealousy is one of the rawest expressions of hidden love. It flares quietly, not with anger, but with ache, a subtle tightening of the chest when she sees you speak tenderly to someone else, a silent pause when your eyes light up for another. But she won't say a word. She'll smile, nod, Carry on the conversation like nothing touched her, because she doesn't want you to see how deeply you matter. Not yet. She's not immature. She's not trying to control you. She's just terrified that if you knew how much your attention meant to her, you might pull away. So she hides it. She jokes it off. She retreats into silence. She might even encourage you to spend time with others, all while her heart folds in on itself like a paper crane trying to stay graceful as it drowns. Because to her, jealousy is not a right she's earned. It's a feeling she must keep secret. This is not about control. It's about courage. She fears the shame of loving more. She fears the humiliation of being told that what she feels is too much, too early, or worse, unreciprocated. So instead of confessing her jealousy, she wears indifference like armor. But the truth slips through, in her sudden distance, in her quiet withdrawal, in the way she looks away when you laugh too long at someone else's joke. A woman's jealousy isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's painfully elegant. It's the way she stops texting first, the way she becomes busy, the way she tries to convince herself that she doesn't need you, just in case you've already decided she's not worth the fight. A Stoic heart, trained to observe without haste and love with intention, recognizes this not as manipulation, but as vulnerability in disguise. Epictetus once taught that our emotions are not to be suppressed, but understood, that the pain we feel often stems not from reality itself, but from our interpretation of what might be lost. Her jealousy is not an accusation. It's an echo of hope. It says, I care about you more than I can say out loud. If you want to reach her, you must move through this storm with stillness. Don't call her out. Don't tease her about being territorial. Instead, offer the reassurance she won't ask for. Remind her, without words, that she's seen, not compared, not measured, but chosen. Choose her again in the small ways. Let her know, with your consistent presence, that her fears are safe with you, because deep down, she doesn't want to win a competition. She just wants to feel secure in a world where love often comes dressed as convenience. She wants to believe that your heart has gravity, that it doesn't drift toward novelty, but stays rooted in authenticity. And when she feels that safety, when she knows you understand her silences better than others understand her words, the jealousy melts, not because it disappears, but because it no longer needs to scream for your attention. It trusts you to stay. To love a woman like this is to know that strength doesn't always look like bold declarations. Sometimes it looks like gentle understanding. Sometimes the bravest thing she does is pretend she's okay, just to see if you'll look close enough to realize she's not. Number 6, she creates distance to see if you'll bridge the gap. There is a kind of silence that speaks louder than any confession. When a woman suddenly steps back, not out of anger, but from an invisible wound, it's often not because she's done caring. It's because she cares too much and isn't sure if you do. Her distance is not dismissal, it's a quiet test. She's waiting to see whether your soul notices her absence the way hers aches in your silence. She won't tell you directly. She might not even realize she's doing it, but there will be a shift. Less eye contact, fewer texts, slower replies. The playful tone might dim, the warmth might fade, and yet, in this retreat, there is a whisper asking, will you come after me, not out of duty, but out of desire? A woman who holds her feelings close to her chest often needs to feel emotionally safe before she can bloom. In her world, love is not something she throws around lightly. So, when she starts pulling away, it's often not a game, it's self-protection wrapped in grace. She's not manipulating you. She's searching for proof that you see her, not just when she's laughing beside you, but even when she's falling silent behind the curtain of her doubts. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we must not become slaves to appearances, but we must not ignore them either. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind. not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Her withdrawal is an outside event. How you respond is the measure of your inner strength. If you meet her distance with ego, thinking she's playing hard to get, you'll miss the quiet truth she's trying to tell you. But if you meet it with presence, stillness, and curiosity, you might uncover the garden beneath her guarded silence. Ask yourself, have you made her feel emotionally safe enough to stay close? Have you made space for her fears or only for her laughter? Because sometimes a woman retreats not to see if you'll chase, but to see if you even notice she's gone. To respond with depth means to lean in, not dramatically, not desperately, but with steadiness. A simple, "Hey, I noticed you've been quiet. Are you okay?" can be the bridge across miles of invisible distance. In that moment, you become the man who listens between the lines, who sees her silence not as an insult, but as an invitation to understand her soul. She wants to believe that your love isn't shallow, that it doesn't disappear the moment she isn't cheerful or convenient. She wants to trust that your affection isn't a performance that depends on her being emotionally available 24/7. Sometimes she simply needs time to breathe, to recalibrate, to see if you're the kind of man who values presence over performance. Don't panic when she pulls away. Don't press her to explain things she doesn't yet have the words for. Just let her know, gently, consistently, wordlessly, that you're still there, that your heart remains open even when she closes the door for a little while. Because the truth is, a woman who distances herself but still hopes you'll come close is not giving up. She's testing the weight of your sincerity. And if you pass that test, not with pressure, but with peace, not with force, but with faith, she will return. Not because you pulled her back, but because she finally feels safe enough to walk towards you, knowing you'll meet her halfway. Number 7, she watches how you handle the unspoken. Not every woman speaks in direct lines. Some speak in glances, in hesitation, in subtle emotional cues that don't scream, but whisper. She won't always tell you what she feels, but she will always show you if you learn to read between the pauses. Her love doesn't arrive wrapped in declarations. It arrives cloaked in moments. And in those quiet, flickering moments, she is watching how you handle the things she cannot say. She's not looking for a man who has all the answers. She's looking for one who can sit calmly in the silence of uncertainty. She's not expecting you to decode her every mood, but she's hoping you'll care enough to notice that behind her smile today, something feels a little off. A woman's heart isn't a book, it's a sea. And the man who wins her trust isn't the one who rushes through the waves, but the one who's willing to stand on the shore, listening to the tide, learning its rhythm. You see, love, real love, isn't always spoken, and some of the deepest forms of connection are forged in how two people hold space for each other when words fail. When she hesitates before answering, when she looks down instead of into your eyes, when she brushes off your questions with a soft, "I'm fine." She's not trying to mislead you. She's inviting you to go deeper, to prove that your curiosity isn't shallow, that your affection isn't only for the surface-level version of her. Philosophers and poets alike have long taught that the soul is not revealed through grand gestures, but through the way we hold presence with another being. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. The same principle applies to love. It's not the fireworks of romance that make it real, but the discipline of awareness, of presence, of choosing every day to notice what others ignore. So when she doesn't confess her love, don't chase her down with demands. Don't panic. Observe. Gently respond to what is unsaid. Be steady, not performative. If she stays quiet, sit with her in the silence. If she grows distant, ask if she needs space, not as a punishment, but as a kindness. These are the sacred gestures that tell her, I see you even when you don't speak. I'm here even when you don't ask. She hopes you know, she really does, because for a woman who guards her heart, the hope that you'll intuit her emotions is not a test of your intelligence. It's a measure of your emotional patience, of your presence, of your steadiness. She hopes you're attuned enough to understand that the loudest parts of her love aren't in what she says, but in how she shows up, through care, through softness, through small, loving acts that often go unnoticed by those who aren't paying close enough attention. And if you learn to handle the unspoken with grace, to treat her pauses not as problems but as poetry, you will discover a love that runs deeper than declarations. You will see the woman who's been waiting for someone who doesn't need a map to her heart because he took the time to feel its rhythm. She won't confess her feelings, but if you watch closely, you'll see she's already telling you everything. Conclusion. As we come to the close of this journey, remember that love is never just about grand confessions or loud declarations. Often, it's whispered in the quiet spaces between words, in the subtle pauses of hesitation, and in the secret tests she places before you. The woman who won't confess her feelings is not withholding love out of cruelty, but out of a delicate hope, a hope that you'll see beyond the surface, understand the depths of her heart, and prove that your love is steadfast even when unspoken. This silent dance of emotions is a profound reminder of the complexity of human connection. It challenges us to grow in patience, to master the art of reading between the lines, and to embrace vulnerability not as weakness, but as strength. As Marcus Aurelius once reflected, accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? In love, this acceptance translates into honoring her process, even if it's slow and uncertain. To truly connect, you must learn to navigate this uncharted territory with empathy and resilience. It's about trusting the journey and believing in the potential that lies in the waiting. So, if you find yourself in this space of uncertainty, remember that your patience and understanding might be the very keys that unlock her heart. If this message has touched you, inspired a new perspective, or given you clarity, please show your support by liking this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear these truths, and subscribe to join a community that values depth, wisdom, and emotional growth. Together, let's explore the profound mysteries of love and human connection, one insight at a time.